Good morning. Today is the 8th of March and we are up to day 20. Bit of a change from yesterday. This one's much earlier in the morning because I have to go put on a beef stew, or pot roast basically. And I find that it's best to do that first thing in the morning so that it's ready in the afternoons. Then you can turn it down and put it on warm, and then it's ready to eat pretty much right away in the evening. There's some cooking tips for you. Anyway, yesterday was completely wrecked. Following the deadlift day that we had with our workout group on Saturday, I was pretty tired yesterday. Actually, still feeling pretty tired, still feeling pretty achy from it. But I had the whole back of me was just completely wrecked yesterday, tight and sore. And achy, and I was starting to get that tired headache, the one that you can't get rid of with hydration or pain pills. It's just telling you to go lay down. And so as a result, I was in bed by 9 o'clock yesterday. I can say it's definitely been a long time since I've been out like a light at 10 after 9, but last night I was out like a light at probably 10 after 9. Definitely had some interesting dreams, and not quite so vivid or memorable. The ones mostly that I had were in the morning, sort of getting those little half-hour, 45-minute sleeps when I woke up around 5. Go up, use the bathroom, and then go back to bed and sleep for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, wake up again at 6:15, and then 7, that sort of thing. And the dreams that I had were mostly traveling dreams. I was in a bus, or I was on an airplane, or I was going somewhere. And if I wasn't dreaming about that, it was dreaming about being in the military or back at boarding school, which is weird. I never really know exactly what those dreams are referring to, because they don't usually come from thinking about it. Like, I don't think about, or I hadn't been thinking about boarding school or anything like that. So it was a little weird to have those dreams, but again, they weren't super lucid, and they weren't nightmarish or anything. I did have the first dream I think I've ever had where I had young people giving me shit and me not caring. Like, in my dream, there was this young kid. We were on a bus, and there was a window next to us that had like a touch sliding screen, and you could put photographs from the trip on the thing. You could upload them, and so I'd uploaded a couple of nice photographs from the area, and one of the young guys in the back had, when I walked up to the front of the bus to talk with the driver, I came back and he had put up like 7 or 8 pictures that were all just mostly crap. And so I turned around and I said, "Hey man, the picture of you guys doing the douche move, looking at the thing, that was a good picture, but all the rest of them were just shit." And so him and his mate started giving me shit about it, like I was some kind of Clint Eastwood wrinkly old bastard. And who knows, maybe I am, but I didn't get upset about it. Like, normally in my dream I would have been very defensive and I would have tried to start a fight or something, and I was just like, they're just young idiots, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and more importantly, their photograph was shit, so I'm not wrong. And it was kind of weird, but good, I suppose. Who knows? Maybe that's progress. Anyway, I wrote down this morning that my physical withdrawal from marijuana has really passed. I don't crave it. I don't have a sense of the physical urges, and the sleeping and the sweating and the lack of wind power that I had when I was doing the dabs particularly has, I'd say it's all but gone. Obviously, as I've said in the last couple of talks, that's meant that my mental state has improved, and I've been way more productive with work and with writing and with reading, and I've been spending more time with my partner. My emotional center is starting to come back. But now that the physical withdrawal from marijuana is sort of sliding down or going away, there's more space for the video game withdrawal to come in, and that's where I'm at now. Is that it's been like yesterday in particular, excuse me, there was a sense of, okay, I'm bored now, what do we do? And thinking about reading was enjoyable, yes, and writing, I on and off ended up finishing another chapter and a half over the course of the day yesterday. But between all of those things, between doing all of those things, I felt that sense of boredom, and then the video games sort of popping up, and I've come to learn that video games, or rather, sorry, that the way that dopamine records activities that give you dopamine, like our body's dopamine will actually make basically a record of things that provide it with a lot of dopamine. And marijuana is one of those things. So your brain will suggest smoking a joint when you're feeling bored or when your dopamine levels are getting low. But for me, the marijuana hasn't been a suggestion. It's been mental suggestions, mental cues for video games. And I find myself thinking about it on and off. You know, is a browser game okay? Is a game on my phone okay? And these are traps. They're not intentional traps. I mean, I guess technically they probably are technical traps. Your brain is trying to get you to do those things to give it dopamine again, because it doesn't know the difference between good dopamine and bad dopamine. But if you are experiencing those types of thoughts, if you're experiencing the kind of thought that says, you know, is it okay if I'm doing it here? Or is it okay if I do it on a little Game Boy or a handheld console? What are they? The Switch, or no, not the Switch. God, I knew what they were, and not having played them for 3 weeks, I don't even know anymore. It's trying to find a way to compromise you out of stopping cold turkey, and there are some people who are able to do that. Some people who are able to keep it in moderation, but I'm willing to bet that the vast majority of people who try to quit video games are not able to do it in moderation, and as a result, switching back to this is just that stepping stone to switching back to console or PC gaming, and the next thing you know, you're back to 3 hours filling up time with video games. And your partner and your accountability people may even say, like, it's really not that big of a deal. But you know that it is a big deal, just like I know that it's a big deal. You know how much time you've wasted with video games. You know how much bullshit you've gone through when you've realized that you haven't taken care of what's required. You know, your life, the errands that you're supposed to run, or your relationships, or whatever it is that you've had to sort of sacrifice in order to continue playing video games. So whatever you do, don't think of them as evil or anything like that. This is all, at least from my opinion, these are all hurdles which are designed to make you stronger on the path. You know, mountain climbing, or building a house, or raising a kid, or any kind of project that takes longer than, you know, one day to do, or even a week or a month or even a year to do. You're going to hit hurdles, and this is a microcosm for you to examine your ability to stick to your goals. With one thing, with quitting video games, you can see how good you are at sticking at your goals, especially when there are going to be times when you're going to be tempted to step off the path and go back to doing what you were doing. And I think that if you look at these things like necessary hurdles to overcome, then you're going to take them on with a more positive attitude, and you're going to feel more positive about taking them on. They're not going to feel like a drag so much as an anticipated struggle that you know that once you get through, you're going to be stronger for at the other end. So that's how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm choosing to look at it in this this period of video game withdrawal. And it's also a reminder that I'm not out of the woods. And it's kind of like a slice of humble pie in a lot of ways, because one thing that I notice with people who quit is they are very, very quick to grab onto their gains, but they're not very quick to recognize where they're still weak. It's almost as if they don't want to highlight the areas. My experience with quitting, and quitting anything, is that if you spend most of your time lauding yourself for the gains that you've made, and you spend little to no time highlighting the weaknesses in your armor, then the next time a big thing comes along, you're going to be so full of self-congratulatory nonsense that you won't fix the weak spot, and the thing that comes up may end up just sliding between those chinks. And in fact, most of the time it does. That's usually how you end up relapsing, is because you'll end up dealing with something that you weren't prepared for, because you hadn't examined what your weaknesses were. So I would say that if you're 2 weeks in at this point, or if you're closing in on 3 weeks, now's a good time for you to take your book out or take anything out and start looking at what your weaknesses are. Start listening to the way that your brain is telling you, hey, it's cool, guy. It's fine. Just a little bit of Candy Crush on the phone, or a little bit of this on the Xbox, or a little bit of this on your PC. Browser game should be fine. Examine those weaknesses. Look at them. Shine a light on them. Don't turn away from them, because the more you turn away from them, the more they grow out of your notice. And the next thing you know, you hit a hurdle. It's an emotional hurdle more often than not. It'll be some kind of stress-related thing, and wham! That weakness will be exploited. You won't even know it, and the next thing you know, you're sitting there with a controller in your hands going, fuck, it's been 5 hours. What the hell just happened? And then you're going to have shame and regret for having relapsed, and all the rest. And to finish, let me put something in here about relapse too. I'd like to talk about that in depth a little more at some point. Everybody fails quitting. Everybody does. I don't think I know a single person who's good at quitting first time every time. Everybody fails. If you fail, if you relapse, beat yourself up a little bit. But make sure that when you launch into yourself, when you do beat yourself up, that you set a limit for how much you beat yourself up. And then once you're done beating yourself up, put it down and don't beat yourself up anymore. Stop using the words that you use. Stop labeling yourself. Stop trying to make yourself into something that you're not. You failed, but that doesn't mean that the story's over. It doesn't mean the journey's finished. Those 3 weeks, or those 2 weeks, or those 2 days, or however long it was still 2 days that you did it. And I think Jordan Peterson would probably say, if you got 2 days, try to make it 3 days the next time. Or if you did 2 weeks, try to make it 3 weeks the next time. Make your improvements each time you get back on the horse a little bigger. Because eventually what you'll end up doing is, through this process of constantly getting back on the horse and trying to do the thing that you know is the healthy thing for you to do, is that you will learn those weaknesses, and you'll learn about yourself. Actually, you'll learn more about yourself doing that than just about any other activity, I think. And as a result, you may end up developing confidence that you don't even know you had, because you'll know yourself and you'll know who you are, and there's a confidence to that. Anyway, that's all I have for this morning. Like I said, day 20. Tomorrow's day 21. 3 weeks in, so I'm going to try to think of something that'll be a little more interesting and a little less sort of rote than the last sort of 3 weeks of talking about how I'm feeling. So yeah. Anyway, like I said, that's it for me. Ka kite.